Hey everybody, this is Dr. Marshall, and I wanted to provide some help for you if you are somebody that does not own a Bible software package like Logos or Accordant software. Then you won't have resources to some of the best Bible study materials for original language work. But there's no need to despair. There are some possible options for you, and I want to share with you one of those, and that's a program called STEPBible. And if you want to use this for your research as you are studying biblical text in Greek or Hebrew, this is the place to go to get some free resources and help. As you're analyzing passages, you need a text, you need a lexicon, and ideally, when you're stuck after analyzing a word and really trying to work through it, you might need some help with parsing and figuring out what form of the word you're looking at. And that's what these resources can do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you both how to find a Greek text and lexicon, as well as a Greek text and lexicon, so that you can be working, in my classes at least, on these materials. So the place I want to direct you is a resource called STEPBible. So if you look at my search bar, I'm going to type in stepbible.org, and there it is. When you click enter after typing in stepbible.org, you're going to see that it pulls up the Genesis 1 passage. And I want you to notice over here on the left-hand side that the default Bible version that should open up is ESV. If you click on that, that's going to take you to your Bible selections to choose which Bible text to display. When you click on this button, it'll provide you with options for how to go to a particular location in the Bible. And then this magnifying glass represents doing particular searches. Now, I'm not going to spend any time talking about searching. I just want to show you how to access a Greek New Testament and then a Greek lexicon to use with that Greek New Testament, and then a Hebrew Old Testament and a Hebrew lexicon to use with it, and to provide parsing help for both. So let's start with the Greek side of things. I want to pull up a Greek New Testament. So what we need to do is we need to add a Greek New Testament to our text display. So click on the ESV Bible text button, and here you get some options. You can click all, or you can divide the resources between English and ancient. Obviously, ESV is going to be under English, but we want a Greek New Testament. So we want to click ancient here, and we'll skip most widely used. I just want to show you how this is laid out. So Hebrew Bibles, Greek Bibles, in the Old Testament and New Testament, and then there's Coptic, Latin, Syriac, Samaritan, and other resources. So we want Greek New Testament. What I want to encourage you to pick is the SBL Greek New Testament upgraded by Tyndale House. This has NGVI, and if you go up here, you'll see that it features notes, grammar, vocab, interlinear. S for Septuagint. If you've got an Old Testament text, you may find some resources that have Septuagint interlinears available. The more of these sorts of features you have, the better, because you have more information that you can get out of it. And that's why I'm choosing this, as opposed to just picking the Nestle Aland Greek text. There are no letters here, so there aren't any features except displaying the text. So let's click that, and then we can go ahead and click OK. If you want to retain the ESV, leave the ESV selected and click OK. Now you have ESV and SBLG. Now you'll notice that there's nothing displayed here for SBLG because the Greek New Testament doesn't include Genesis. So if we change this reference to Matthew 1 and display, then you'll see that ESV and SBL Greek are both here. Now, this may not be the way you want to display your text, where they're interleaved like this. So if you want to change it to a column layout, click the gear icon, and then you can click column view. And then that will give you your ESV on one side and your SBL text on the other. All right? So that's going to be how you pull up the text. If you want to get rid of ESV, you are welcome to. If you want to change to a different text besides the ESV, then you can unclick ESV and click I don't know, ASV or something like that. I don't want to change my text. I do think it's helpful to have a an English Bible in front of you so that if you have to go from one text location to another, if you can't read Greek very easily, then you can at least have your English text to kind of help you get to the verse you want to find in the Greek Bible. All right, so I'm going to actually switch my order here. So if I click Update Display Order, I can drag these around and put them in the order I want. I want the Greek text closest to this window here. Now, I forgot to mention, but over here in the welcome window, it gives you examples for how to use STEPBible. So if you'd like to get a little bit of a tutorial on it, you can. If you click more here, you'll also see that there are some guides over here. So I recommend that you check that out. But this is just a crash course in getting to the text and lexicons you need. So ideally, you would have access to BDAG for your New Testament studies, which is the Bauer, Arndt, Gingrich, Donker lexicon that covers New Testament Greek as well as some Septuagint, intertestamental stuff. You'll see that in there, but primarily it's New Testament Greek and early Christianity. But that's an expensive purchase, both in hard copy and as a software resource in Logos and Accordance. So if you can't spring for that, the next best thing is to avail yourself of the LSJ, Little Scott Jones lexicon. And this is the beauty of having the SBL Greek New Testament here with STEPBible. I'm going to increase the font size here. So again, I'm going to go to Options. I can click Font Size here, and oops, let me go back here. Click that, and then I can increase my Greek font to something much more readable for my old age. Okay, so again, click that gear, go to font size, click the letter, and then I'm going to also increase my English size as well. Okay, so what you want to do is click on, well, if you mouse over without clicking on any of the Greek words, I want you to notice that you have a pop-up window down below that provides you with a really short lexical entry, number of occurrences in the Bible. Here we're speaking of the Greek New Testament, so 27 occurrences of biblos. But notice that there is a parsing label there, nominative, singular, feminine, noun. It might be surprising, but biblos is a feminine noun, even though it looks masculine, second declension. And it tells you what part of speech it belongs to. So that may be sufficient for what you need, but if you click with your left mouse button one time, you're going to see this word analysis window pop up. Look up here. So this tells you more parsing information again, real quick glosses, meaning, but here's what I want you to focus on. The Little Scott Jones Dictionary, which covers Greek literature pre- and post-New Testament era. This gives you the lexical entry from LSJ. If you click, let's go further down past the genealogy, there's not a whole lot of words. Apoiesin. Notice that when I mouse over apoiesin, I get a pretty lengthy set of English glosses for it. I have my parsing there, aorist, active, indicative, third singular. But when I click it, it pulls that information up in the word analysis window to the right. And as I scroll down, I will find the LSJ dictionary's lexical entry. So I want to encourage you, if you don't have access to electronic versions of BDAG, print versions of BDAG in a Bible software program, then make use of this. Okay. Now let's do this for the Hebrew text. I want to change my text, so I'm going to get rid of SBL Greek, and I'm going to instead, so I'm going to click that to unselect it. I'm going to go to my Hebrew Old Testament. Now you have 5 options here, but notice that this is the one that has notes, grammar, vocab, and interlinear features. The Translator's Hebrew Old Testament 2019 with Kathif Kure variants, Old Testament. Now you may not know what Kathif Kure means, but I want to show you, I'm going to click this one. The next best one is OHB. When I click that, generally these are going to have the same text that you would be using if you were looking at Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia, which is the standard Hebrew text that most students, pastors, rabbi students, and rabbis use. We're going to click OK down here. Now, notice that we're still in Matthew 1:1, so none of the Hebrew text is showing up here. So I'm going to change this to, I don't know, let's say the book of Ruth. We can go to chapter 1. I'll show you one little trick here. So chapter 1, this takes you right to chapter 1. If I were to click chapter 2, let's go back here, Ruth chapter 2, it takes you to chapter 2, verse 1. In other words, clicking like this just takes you to the beginning of the chapter. But what if you want to go to chapter 1, verse 7? You don't really want to hop to chapter 1, verse 1 all the time just to get to chapter 1, verse 7. So how do you do that? When you click on your reference, you see there says select verse number there. If you turn that on, then after you click the book Ruth and the chapter number, then it'll pull up all the verses in the chapter, and then you can go directly there to chapter 1, verse 7. All right, now, there is a reason that I've pulled up both of these Hebrew texts, okay? And here's what I want to show you. As you mouse over these, this is the translator's Hebrew Old Testament. This was OHB, okay? They're the same text. But when I mouse over Shafot here, for example, I want you to notice that down at the bottom, it gives you the parsing after the English glosses. It's a verb that's kal in the stem, and it's an infinitive construct. If I do the same thing with OHB, notice that it gives me all the same information except for the parsing. And that's because the translator's Hebrew Old Testament actually has grammatical parsing information built into the feature. OHB does not. Okay, so if I click on, let's mouse over HaShofatim. Notice, by the way, that when there's multiple segments that make up a word, like the article ha and then shofatim, then you're going to be able to highlight each of these individually and get information on them. You have a pronominal suffix like banav, then we've got the plural form of bain here, and then we have the 3ms pronoun there. Okay, so you should be able to find parsing information on those different forms. But now let me click on Hashoftim. I want you to notice over here on the word analysis, it gives you the lexical entry. So this is the lexical form as you would find it in a dictionary. It gives you the parsing information, how many times that Hebrew word occurs in the Old Testament. And then this provides you with the BDB, the Brown Driver Briggs lexicon entries for that particular word. I think it's BDB that's being used here, which is a very respectable but old lexicon that's in the public domain. And then there's related words and other grammatical information. Now, if we do the same thing, if we click on OHB, you get the same BDB entry, same information on related words, but what you're missing is that grammatical parsing information. And so for that reason, I'm going to recommend that you use the THOT, the translator's Hebrew Old Testament, and not OHB when you are doing your study. Okay, so you now have a Hebrew text of Ruth, and you have access to parsing information. Here is ba'aretz. Notice that we click the bait, we have the bait preposition here, we have eretz, and we have parsing information for eretz here. Vayelech, here we have the label. It's a verb, kal, consecutive imperfect, or what some call a vav consecutive imperfect, or others call a vayiktol, and third singular masculine. I always say 3ms, third masculine singular, but you can still figure that out. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Now you can use your free lexicons in your study of the Hebrew and Greek text.